weeks ago when I released my first look on the Insta360 GO 3, the main comment that I heard from you guys was, compare it to the GoPro. The GoPro Hero 11, that is, because the 12's not out yet. But to me that didn't make a lot of sense, but you guys, you keep asking. You're very persistent. I like that about you. So today we are going to compare the GO 3 versus the GoPro Hero 11. And I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, but the GoPro Hero 12 is going to come out soon. For this comparison, you'll see why, like, that doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter that the GoPro 12 may or may not be coming out soon. This comparison will show why I think it's a weird thing to look at these two cameras against each other, because they really are for different people. This will all make a lot of sense once we get into it. I think most of this should be back at the desk so I can really show you things on the camera, but first I'm gonna go skateboard around Carlsbad, get some side-by-side footage. You'll notice that the Go is not even in here because it's where I usually keep it. Right there, that's where I normally keep my Go 3. I'll pop it out of here though, lock it in there. We'll go get some comparison footage around Carlsbad today. Okay, let's hop back to the desk. We'll talk more about this comparison between these two cameras. Again, why I think it's kind of a weird comparison, but why I also understand why people want to make this comparison. Let's go. Okay, that was a little side-by-side between these two. So let's just jump into the first category of comparison, image quality. Now, obviously the GoPro is shooting up to 5.3K 60 frames a second, while the Insta360 GO only goes up to 2.7K. So the resolution obviously goes to GoPro, and I think image quality in general, I think if you look at them side by side, it probably goes to GoPro. If you look at them separately, you're probably just gonna say like, oh, that was shot on an action camera. But side by side, I think you can see the GoPro has a little more detail, a little more resolution. And yeah, just side by side, let's give this one a GoPro. But the GoPro, of course, is this entire camera, while the Insta360 GO 3, it's really just this piece. This is the actual camera and sensor. So for this little thing to even look decent next to this, quite impressive. Which brings us to number 2, size and weight. And this little tiny guy, without the action pod, just the camera itself and the sensor, we are looking at 36 grams. This camera, you almost forget that you have it mounted on you. Like, again, I wear this thing. Whoa. I usually wear this on my hat mount, and I'm not kidding when I say that I'll have this on me for a while and then just kind of forget it's up there. So this little bit here is the Insta360 GO head mount, like the POV head mount. Now compare that to the GoPro's head mount, like the POV head mount, and you're talking about cheeking this. You gotta unthumb screw it off. We'll talk about the mounting solutions in a minute here. Pop this onto the head mount, get you in there. And now the GoPro's head mount is like if you've ever worn one of these, you know that it's not inconspicuous. GoPro itself weighs 155 grams. So like when you've got this thing on you and you're moving around, like you know there's a camera on your head. And I'm definitely not gonna like turn this thing around and just walk around town with it on the back of my hat, because this would be ridiculous. So quite a difference between these two cameras. And then as for the chest mount, I'm actually wearing the Insta360 GO chest mount right now. It's a little magnetic pendant you wear under your shirt, and boom, I'm rocking a chest mount. I have a chest mount shot that I can walk around. I can do behind the handlebars. Like if I was like a chef and I was like cutting things, I can get that shot. And again, for the GoPro, it's a little more intense. Hang on, let me show you. Unthumb screw first. For the GoPro, I need this thing. Look, I can keep the Go there. And now I have a GoPro chest mount shot. So again, very different kind of levels of this whole mounting system. Again, you're not gonna go walking around with this thing on you through town like everyday life. You're not gonna go to the playground with your kids wearing this thing. That would be ridiculous. But having the Go 3 magnetic mount on, like, this is not that bad. Like walking around town, I can kind of pop this thing off. Oh, there we go. I can keep the Go 3 on the back of my hat, which is again where I usually wear it if we're going out, we're gonna go to the playground, we're gonna go do a fun family day with the kids. I keep it on my hat, and then I keep this thing underneath my shirt. No one knows it's there. When I'm ready, I just kind of grab this thing and flip it around, and boom. POV chest mount shot, flip it back up to my hat, flip that around, POV hat mount shot. You see where I'm going with this whole comparison? Like, it's a weird comparison. Now, obviously the Action Pod does bring in a bit more weight, but even then, I think together with the Action Cam and the Action Pod, I think we're at 132 grams. So still smaller and lighter weight than the GoPro. I feel like that mostly describes my opinion about these two cameras, why they're just such different cameras for such different use cases. But let's keep going on. Let's look at the mounting solution. So obviously on the GoPro, we still just have those flip down feet from GoPro. And those flip down feet, of course, mean that in order to mount it, you have to get the feet in there. You then slide the thumb screw in, and you screw it in. Almost there. But then if I said, hey, now I want to put it up to my chest mount or my head mount, I have to unthumb screw it, get it all the way out of, come on. Move the camera, get the feet back in there, get this thumb screw in. Hang on everybody, wait for me. I'm moving my camera from mount to mount. And now I've moved the camera one time. But the Go 3 has adopted that kind of newer magnetic mounting system. So actually on the back of the camera, you can see that there's actually little spots where the magnetic mount can grab the camera. But then also on the bottom of the Action Pod. So the Action Pod can mount to this directly like that. Boom, my Action Pod is mounted. I can unmount it and move it to a different mount, slap it onto the next mount very quickly. Or I can take the actual camera out itself. I can slap it, whoop, backwards. I can slap it up into this magnetic mount, or I could take this off. I could pull this out and I could lock this into this magnetic mount, unscrew that, roll that forward, and have my camera mounted in a bunch of different scenarios. This is more of like a locked in mount, so like this isn't going anywhere. This is more for kind of action usage. But then you obviously have things like this. This I would say is for action usage also, because I have done all sorts of things and I cannot get this to like shake out of this mount. But this mount here, I would say is for like, it's for medium, light to medium action. If you like do something and like something knocks the camera, it will come off of this. So everyday use case mount, this one, it's not coming out of that one. This one, it is locked in place with physical little clips, and it's for sure not coming out of that mount. So for size and weight and mounting solution, easily goes to the Insta360 GO 3. Again, these GoPros and their dang thumb screws. Now that all these magnetic systems are out, I'm real tired of thumb screws. Get these both off here and compare the screen situations, kind of how each camera dealt with a rear screen and a front screen. On the GoPro, we have a rear touch screen on there and then a front screen. It's not a touch screen, but it is a front screen. But the Go 3, it did something pretty clever. Obviously, when you're in this like little teeny tiny mode, you do not have a screen. But when you lock it into the Action Pod and turn it on, you have a rear screen that becomes a front screen because this rear screen flips up. So if you're in front of the camera, suddenly you have a front screen. You have this screen that you can look at and it's a big screen. It's the full screen and it's a touch screen. So even when you're in front of the camera, you can just kind of reach up, start changing settings. You don't have to flip it around and do this bit and flip it back around. You just kind of, hey, there's all my settings right there. I can do everything from the screen. Okay, audio quality. How is the audio quality on these two cameras? They are action cameras. Okay, here's a little audio test with the GoPro Hero 11. This is no wind, no nothing. This is like ideal, perfect audio conditions. And here is the Insta360 GO 3. Same thing, perfect conditions. There's no wind. Found this little spot by the trail, by the train tracks. And how do they sound? Again, GoPro, Insta360, DJI, all these action cameras, not known for their audio amazingness. So action cameras, again, the microphones are just little holes on the sides of the cameras. Not great, but very usable in like just kind of a walk around vloggy situation. Unfortunately, they both do break down quite a bit with wind. But let's talk about a feature that this guy had, the kind of killer feature for the Go 3 that the GoPro just doesn't have at all. The Go 3 is a camera inside of a remote control. I guess that's kind of how to say it. So when it's in here, I can obviously see the shot on here. I can see what the camera is seeing and what the camera is recording. But cleverly, I can also do that when the camera is removed. So if I just put my camera, and even though the camera is up top here, check this out. You can see what the camera is seeing from here. So the Go 3, this piece, the action pod, when it's connected, it acts very similar to a larger action camera, a GoPro or a DJI Action 4. But when it's separated, when I have this mounted somewhere else, if it's up here or it's on the outside of my car, this now becomes a remote control for the camera, but also a remote viewer. Imagine if GoPro had a remote control that you could start and stop your GoPro from, you could change all the settings from, and it had a screen on it so you could see what the GoPro was recording. That's what this action pod is for the Insta360 GO 3. Which brings me to like the conclusion of this comparison, why I think it's a weird comparison, and why, again, I think these are kind of for two different use cases. Like with the GoPro, you have a larger camera, a larger sensor. It's designed to have that higher quality image, whereas over here, you have a smaller camera, has this whole modularity to it. It's teeny tiny, it weighs almost nothing, comes with a bunch of mounts, comes with a remote viewer that's also a remote control. Like, this is more of like an everyday use camera, and that's how I use these two. Right now in my life, I have 3 little girls, a lot of family stuff. We're out doing park trips or we're going to the pool. We're doing a lot of fun little things with the family. And I would say probably 80% of my clips right now are being recorded on the Go 3. Again, I can just have this camera with me. That's kind of the point of a teeny tiny camera, because for going to the park, going to the pool with my family, like the highest quality image isn't what matters. It matters that I have an action camera with me. And then for those times when I know I'm gonna go snowboard, I'm gonna go out on like a full day trip where I'm gonna burn through multiple batteries, then yeah, it makes sense to kind of grab a GoPro, grab a DJI Action 4, like grab something that I can use multiple batteries and that I'm gonna be filming like very long clips with. This thing though is my everyday camera, my everyday use camera, and I think that's where most people kind of need to figure that out. Like all these action cameras came out for action sports and doing like the craziest things, but then lots of people just buy them for everyday use. And I would definitely say that for everyday use, the Go 3 is an easy winner for you. And then for more action sports, getting extreme, getting crazy, that's where the GoPro or the Action comes in. Let me know your thoughts though, between these two cameras, which of these makes most sense for your lifestyle, for your use case, how you actually use action cameras? Because I think most people don't use action cameras for action sports, or maybe occasionally they do. And then most of the time, something like this makes a lot more sense. I hope this helped. I hope this helped like clear up why initially I didn't do a comparison. And again, you guys were very persistent. So of course I'll do a comparison for you. I just think it's a weird one. All right, I'll see you soon.